What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Pet Shop Boys, and we're ready to start the next chapter in this journey. Thank you, as always, to Seb, and we are indeed jumping into Nightlife 1999, and once again, this is an expanded folder which has the album proper, a run of B-sides, and then it looks like the last, 8 or 9 tracks in the folder are from something called Nightlife Further Listening, which I imagine was like, a deluxe edition or an expanded version of the album. So yes, we've got the album proper, a number of B-sides, and then Nightlife Further Listening. In any case, the opening track on the album proper is For Your Own Good, which is an interesting phrase, right? Like, there may be some legitimacy to that expression when it is applied to someone. Wait, look, I know you don't like this, but I'm doing it for your own good. There may be some sincerity in that. But there are also examples where it is at best debatable whether the program or the action being suggested or maybe even imposed by another party is in fact for the own good of the person being addressed. And that, of course, can be layered as well. Like, the person saying it might be saying it cynically, like, look, it's for your own good, even though it's more in an ulterior motive or a selfish motive on the part of the person saying that and or doing the thing that is an imposition. But of course, they might actually believe it. They might, like, look, it's for your own good, but they might not understand the feeling or the context or the desires or wishes of the person they're saying it to. So all of that is very nuanced and complicated already, and that's even before we get to the songwriting complexities of Neil and Chris. So yes, I don't quite know what to expect here, but I do predict there will be more than meets the eye to the phrase itself. So let's give it a listen and see what I can pick up. This is Pet Shop Boys. The tune is For Your Own Good, and it's the first tune on their 1999 album, Nightlife. I feel like we're going to come in with some energy. Oh, it's so 90s trance, I love it. Big snare roll.
Don't you think you should call me tonight? Life isn't easy, so why don't you stay with the lover you need, and not the devil you pay? For your own good, call me tonight.
Baby, it's cold outside.
Life isn't easy, so why don't you stay?
feeling subdued by that like feedback fade out. But no, seriously, that's a brilliant tune, like in every respect. Now I'll start with the lyrics. It feels like it's essentially a modern version of "Baby It's Cold Outside." Like, hey, the world's tough out there and it's cold. Like, why don't you just stay with me tonight? You need a lover anyway, right? So like, I feel like it might be a bit tongue in cheek, and that it's someone who's really trying to persuade the other person. Which again, the phrase "for your own good." It feels like that kind of nuanced meaning I was thinking about in advance, where it's like, I think the narrator here genuinely believes all those things, or, maybe one or two of them are like, he's just kind of searching for any reason if that'll tip the scales, or, get the other person's willingness to stay and to, be part of this over the line, so to speak. But yeah, it sounds like he's saying genuinely, like, hey, like, I want to be with you, so why don't you take my call? Why don't you stay here? And, the world's tough out there. You need refuge from that. You want a connection. You need a lover, don't you? So, yeah, it feels, again, like it's sort of a modern version of "Baby It's Cold Outside." Sonically, I absolutely love it. But actually, before I get to that, or at least like one dimension of that, the vocals, Neil's vocals, very smooth and beautiful, and because of the nuance of the lyrics as I caught them, he seems particularly well suited to convince the other person with his lovely melodic voice. There's a secondary male vocal there, which I feel like wasn't Neil. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but there was like this supporting vocal that I was curious about. Secondarily, there's like these, almost like those, like, synth vocals where it sounds like kind of a choral vocal, but they're kind of like played as like chords. Then there's the female vocal, which goes like really high and kind of has this soulful sound. And there was a section near the end where it was like all of those were sort of layering into and over each other. So there's a very like dense vocal texture to the track with Neil at the center of it, but those other elements, especially that kind of like female vocal, which had that really high soulful quality. And indeed, there's a lot of dance tunes from the 90s that had like vocals like that. So yeah, like overall, I'd say very much like a vocal trance type of tune, and a lot of elements that, as someone who's into trance and techno of the 90s, especially the second half of the 90s, fair to say, when it comes to, my own personal history with rave music and trance music, that I think set it apart from a trance tune that might have been from 93 or 94 and so on. Number one, there's that like really energetic and dynamic lower end, the kind of the electric bass, or again, lower end of the tune. That stood out to me, especially when it first came in. It was like, oh wait, that just took the track to another level. Then there's that lovely, and maybe my favorite part, like cold and simple piano line that would sort of progress through the track, which again had this like, I don't know, blue or cold quality to it, at least as it hits my ears and brain. Which again, when it comes to trance and techno, my brain is weird. Like it perceives like motion and like shape to different sounds. And maybe that's because of so many years and decades listening to trance and other types of dance music, where like your brain really has to work hard to like characterize it. You can't like, oh, that sound that goes bum bum bum. It's like, that doesn't really fly. So you have to try your best to, give sounds the shape and the movement that my brain perceives them as. And so that piano line or keyboard line had a very like cold and like simple, kind of like it was single notes, but in a really nice succession. And then there were the like string synths, which again, like very 90s trance, and like second half of the 90s trance, where they're kind of like, they're melodic, but they're rhythmic, and they're just kind of giving that texture. And then again, like with that was a driving percussion scheme with, big snare rolls, which is a very like second half of the 90s, like big room kind of trance. And as the snare builds to where everyone knows is going to be the drop, it's, the sense of anticipation, and it's, you get the like ecstatic kind of feeling that, comes from a big trance build and drop. So yeah, like whether it's the percussion, the bass line, and the, electric sonics at the bottom of the tune, or the layered melodies of the track, I thought it all came together really, really well. So lyrically, vocally, and sonically, this one is a winner for me, and a great way to start off an album about nightlife. Now, again, I get it. When it comes to their tunes, sometimes it's likely more the type of thing you'd hear at like a dance club rather than, you know, an underground rave party. But there are aspects of the production, and again, I know that Chris was conversant in those circles where it's like, oh, like, you know, this could work at an underground trance party, even if it's like more on the like vocal end rather than, you know, like driving hard trance or something. Although even then, we've heard some tunes that were, you know, very acidic and very like underground in their styling. So I like the way this one could work in a like synth dance or like pop context, but I think it would also work in a set of like vocal and melodic trance that you would play at like an underground trance party. So yeah, again, as someone who, you know, I got my turntables in 1998, I was going to parties a couple years before that, but I got my turntables in 98, and it was, you know, by 99 that my collection started to get bigger, and eventually very late 99 I played my first rave party as a DJ. So like this is very much like of the time and stylings that were popular at trance rave parties I was going to in California. So yeah, it's like, even though I've never heard it before, it's like nostalgic at the same time, if that makes sense. In any case, I'm carrying on, which typically means that the tune has impacted me, which it definitely did. So I'm looking forward to the rest of this album and all the bonus material that's in there as well. Thank you again to Seb. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.